This is Support is Sexy, episode 494, with Melissa Lorenzo-Herve, CEO and Creative Director of Pirouette. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm happy to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. And if you are a woman entrepreneur out there listening and you are building your business and feeling kind of alone, first, I understand it can be lonely, especially if you're an online entrepreneur or a solopreneur, as they call us, but you don't have to do it alone. In fact, around here, you know, we're all about having it all doesn't mean doing it all alone. You can join a powerful group of women entrepreneurs, a global collective of women entrepreneurs who are there to support you by joining the Support is Sexy Mastermind. Just check it out at supportissexymastermind.com. Lots more information tells you all the great things you get by being a member of the mastermind. Most important, at least to me, is that you get a community, a place where you can come in, ask questions, have celebrations, share your challenges, whatever you need to do. Supportissexymastermind.com. Make sure you check it out because you do not have to do this alone. Now, today, I am super excited to welcome our guest, Melissa Lorenzo-Herve. Melissa is the CEO and creative director of a company, a fashion line called Pirouette. Beautiful dresses. And Melissa said she created the line because she wanted to help women be able to go from day to night with ease. I really love it. You must check it out. PirouetteNYC.com. But why I really wanted Melissa to come on the show, you know, we were introduced through a mutual friend, Ty Beauchamp. And what really struck me about Melissa's story, which I think a lot of you will be able to relate to, she is in a major way side hustling and building her business, or not even side hustling. I always say building her business while working a full-time position, right? Maybe it's not side hustling. She's building a full business while working a full-time career in the law profession. Actually, she and her co-founder are both doing this while being moms and having full-time careers. A lot of us can relate to this, right? Whether you did it before you went full time into your business, you might be in a 9-to-5 job right now and be thinking about your business or working on your business later or working on your business before work. I spoke to some young ladies the other day who are in college and thinking about their business, running their business and thinking about how they're going to do it after college. So there's a lot of ways that this looks like, right? It can look a lot of different ways. Melissa's story is one that I think is an example of, one, how you do it, and then how you get the courage to do it. Because it's not always easy when you have your quote unquote good job. People are wondering why on earth you might want to do this other thing that seems like a hobby, but to you, it's really a passion. So I hope this conversation inspires you to let you know, as I said in the beginning, you are not alone. So now, without further ado, Melissa Lorenzo-Herve. So, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to chat with you.
Me too. Thank you, Elayne.
Of course. Our first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
It's actually something I fall in and out of love with. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's because I'm doing it in addition to a regular full-time job. The parts that I fall in love with include how much control I can have over what I'm creating, who I'm targeting, who I'm helping, how I'm helping them. That's something that you don't usually find in a regular job, especially if you're not in a startup. So I fall in love with being able to guide the destiny of this idea. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, I have those down times where it's just way too much work, or I'm dealing with something that I have no idea how to do. And then I have to figure out who can help me, or who do I know who's an expert in this field. So I fall in and out of love, but I keep falling in love over and over again with the mission. And every time I get to see women try on our dresses, that makes me all over again fall in love with what I'm doing.
Right. Now, are those the things that help you get through those moments when, like you said, the fact that you're building this business while also being a full-time lawyer, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, full-time lawyer editor, right?
Right, full-time lawyer editor. So how does it
And mom.
and mom. So you're not busy at all. How do you what helps you get through those times? Is it remembering, like you said, or having those moments where you see women try on the Pirouette NYC dresses and just being focused on your
That
mission?
Yeah, that definitely does it for me when I see them try on a dress and I see how they react and I see how they all of a sudden feel like they can own the room and do anything they want to do and feel really confident, regardless of their size or shape or where they work or where they are in their life. But when I'm not at a trunk show, since we have only so many of those every month, what makes me jump out of bed and want to attack this problem every day is when I think about why did I do this? And then that just solves everything, because every time I think about how much time women spend getting ready and how we have to always change into yet another outfit according to where we're going. And I don't see men doing that, right? Men are just taking off their tie and heading to the bar or the party or whatever event is after work. Every time I think of that and closing that gap and giving women back that time, that's what makes me feel rededicated and maybe even reinvigorated for the mission of the company.
Now, did you always have an interest in fashion growing up?
Always, yep, always growing up. When I was bored, I would draw dresses. When I was doodling, I was drawing women in clothing. I was basically stealing fashion magazines wherever I can find them. Just always in love with how do you dress the female form? What do you do with these materials? How do you drape them the right way? Always looking at what designers were doing. And I thought it would eventually go away, that feeling. And that's why I went to law school and that's why I pursued a legal career, but it never went away. It's still in there. I still feel like that 8-year-old girl doodling in her notebooks when I'm designing a dress.
What made you think that it would go away?
I thought maybe it was something that all girls like, and it's something that once you're an adult or once you're more mature, it goes away, just like maybe a passion for baseball goes away once you're no longer on the school team, or a passion for ballet goes away once you're no longer attending weekly classes with your friends when you're a little kid.
Right.
I thought once I was knee deep in law and practicing at a law firm, eventually it would go away. Or once I was out of law school, it would go away. Or once I was out of college, it would go away. And here I am. And
it never went away.
And it's not gone away. It never went away. It was always there. And maybe it's something I should have tapped into earlier.
No, the timing is always right.
Right. Right.
Now, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Miami, typical Miami girl, Cuban parents. The one not typical thing was that I went away to school. Most of my friends stayed in Miami, and I went to Amherst College, where I met a lot of people from all over the world. And I think I just grew up in a way that was very different from the friends I made in college, because I was surrounded by women who, when they came from Cuba, brought that culture with them about always looking nice and never leaving the house without earrings and always paying attention to how you're dressed. And so I think that influenced me growing up in that environment.
Where did you say you went to college? Amherst?
Amherst College, yep.
Okay. So now you're into law. You've been working in law for how many years before you actually started your business, your side business?
Right. So I practiced for 4 years. Then I went into legal publishing after that. And about 3 years ago, I started figuring out how can I build this company that would have dresses for petite women and dresses that would help women get out the door more quickly. But we launched as a brand a little over a year ago, March 30th, 2017.
Did you have any fears about launching a fashion business, even though it was something that you've loved forever?
For years and years, yep.
Having your own law, a career that people might say, oh, but this is the quote unquote good job or the steady thing.
Exactly. And that's actually the environment I grew up in. You do the safe thing, right? I was surrounded by immigrants and political exiles and people who left very difficult circumstances. So what am I doing pursuing this risky thing, right? Especially if I've already gotten that law degree and already gotten that big law firm job and working in New York. Why would I leave any of that? And so I think that kept me away from pursuing anything to do with fashion for a long time. And even talking about it, I think the fear of people's reaction kept me from doing anything, incorporating or learning about fabrics, or even figuring out how do you launch a startup. That whole fear of people's reactions kept me from doing anything. And also about failing. What if it didn't work out? What if I had just launched something and then wasted all this money and didn't have any sort of reaction or sales? The fear of failure, I think, kept me from doing anything for a really, really long time.
Right. Now, what got you past it? Like, obviously, at some point you decided, okay, well, in spite of the fears or the idea of failing, I'm doing it anyway. You and your business partner is Kate, right?
Right. Kate Bally joined me about a year and a half or so ago after I had started figuring out what the template would be like and what the branding would be like. You know what happened? I heard an interview with the founder of LearnVest. Mm-hmm. Forget her name. And she talked about being an entrepreneur and about the fear of failure. And something she said stuck with me, and I still remember this. She ended up selling her company for millions and millions. But she said that when she started out and she started thinking about what if this fails? What if this idea doesn't go anywhere? And then she thought, and so what? So what if it fails? That would still be a great experience. I'll still get so much out of this. And then that stuck with me. So what if it fails? I tried it. It's going to feel worse if I don't try it and have this regret for the rest of my life. And then once I was able to let go of that fear by saying, so what if it fails? How many things don't we try in our life that also have a high chance of failing? And we do them anyway, look back and think about how great it was to learn from that experience. And now you hear startups in Silicon Valley saying, fail fast and learn from your failure. And failure is it's a bridge to success. So I think we're starting as a society to shake off that stigma that we attach. Right. At least men, I see, reframe it really quickly, whereas women are a little bit more cautious and fearful of, but if I fail, then this becomes my calling card, that thing I tried and failed at.
That's right. And the founder of LearnVest is Alexa Von Tobel.
Right.
Yes,
right. And so I think that was so instructive of her to put that message out there and say, so what if it fails? And so many people will say, well, then you pivot, right? That's a big term in the startup world. You see an idea that's not going somewhere and then you pivot, but you wouldn't have had that successful second idea unless you had tried that first one.
Right. And I have a friend, Nataki, who said to me, this was years ago when I used to say things, what if it failed or what if it doesn't work? Mm-hmm. Thinking of the other side, what if it does? What if it does work? What if it does do it? You know what I mean? It's like that other side.
That pushes you forward. Right. Yeah. And then I think once you get your idea a little bit in front of people and they start telling you that they want it out there and that they wish they had that product or that service in their life, then that starts to tell you, well, it looks like this might not fail, because even in my small circle, I'm seeing people react positively to this and how they would be using it. So you start to see the chances of it actually succeeding.
Right. But we have to be real, of course, as women, and the support is sexy, of course, is for women entrepreneurs, especially the lens through which failure is looked at for men versus women is unfortunately different for a lot of people. Like people talk about startups, especially in Silicon Valley. You know, some men could have 10 businesses that have failed and still get investment. Whereas a woman, if she has one that has failed or not done well, it's like this scar on her reputation. So it shouldn't be like that. So there are reasons, in other words, that women might have a more apprehension about what if this fails. But
exactly.
What if it succeeds? You know, you have to still move
That's
on.
What we have to keep thinking. What if it succeeds, and what are the chances that it succeeds?
And what can I learn from this?
Right.
So what would you say have been the biggest challenges for you with building this business, which is, I've told you already how much I love the dresses, so everyone will have a link to it so you can check it out. But what would you say have been the greatest challenges for you so far?
Figuring out marketing in a very crowded space, figuring out how to get in front of people. That's something we're working on now, because we see the reaction when we're at trunk shows. We see how happy people are when they're physically touching the dress, which you can't do when you're looking at it online. The photography can only do so much. So the biggest challenge has been, how do we now figure out the right strategy to push traffic to our website? How do we leverage social media? How do we leverage user-generated content? How do we figure out a way to grow our reach, considering that we're a small brand that is probably compared to a lot of other big brands? And how do we figure out how to reach that target market? Busy professional women who want quality pieces, who want to choose well instead of often.
Mm-hmm. So what have been some of the ideas that you have or that you're working on?
So we're figuring out, in terms of PR, who is the right publicist, or who are the right publicists to hire. Someone who not only gets the brand, but is connected to the right media outlets, who can help us with our story, who can help us with the right sort of press.
Mm-hmm.
How to have more trunk shows so that we're reaching people who aren't in our network yet, women who are connected to women who are connected to other women who we know. So we've had several trunk shows on the East Coast, for example. We haven't had any on the West Coast. So we're trying to figure out how do we reach more audiences in more cities. And
you're based in New York, right?
Right. Well, everything is made in New York, and we import all our fabrics from Japan and Italy. We have a production manager in New York, but I live in a little town north of Boston. My partner lives in Stamford, Connecticut. So we're a remote team that's coming together every day over phone and email, and then in person a few times per month. But we have the production down. We have all of these different components set, and now we're trying to figure out how do we embrace all of the possibilities within marketing to be able to get more exposure.
For people who might not be familiar with fashion, explain what a trunk show is and how it works well for you guys.
Sure. So quite different from the online experience. When you go to a trunk show, you get to see all of the dresses in all of the sizes. You get to meet the founders. You get to try them on. We have separate fitting rooms. Sometimes they're at friends' homes. Sometimes they're in an event space with fitting rooms. We have mirrors. You have your friends there. We have drinks. We have hors d'oeuvres. So it's a very comfortable, relaxed environment. You get to meet new women who could be part of your network. But it's just a great way to try on the dress without being in a retail store environment. And then there's always reduced pricing because we're not dealing with shipping. There's a much lower chance of return since you've actually already tried on the dress when you're buying it. So it's a really fun event. And we actually have one this Wednesday coming up, June 13th in New York, and another one in New Jersey on Friday the 15th, and another one in Scarsdale on June 30th. So that's the June schedule for the trunk shows.
Oh, wow. And do you have your July ones yet? This will probably go up later.
We don't have the July ones yet. We're figuring out for July. I think in August, we're having a couple in Vegas and maybe Benton, New Jersey. But July is tricky because a lot of people take vacations. So we're trying to figure out, should we have one in July? And if we do, where?
Right. And so people will be able to go to your website to find out about where they are,
yes, on our events page. Yep. On our events page, we list all of our upcoming trunk shows. And then something that's really cool that people like is that whoever hosts a trunk show, we gift them a dress to honor them for supporting the brand and supporting women entrepreneurs. And it's something that we love to do.
Excellent. So everyone, I'll make sure I have a link, but the website is pirouettenyc.com. pirouettenyc.com. If you're driving, don't look at it now. Look at it later. It'll be there. But that's the website. And I'm glad I asked about, I know what trunk shows are, but I didn't even think about the fact that you do them smaller events at people's homes or other spaces and not just within stores. Stores have everyone come in for a trunk show.
Right. And it's just a great environment to also just be relaxed and try on a dress whenever you want. You also get to catch up with your friends and meet new people. So it's just a fun event to go to, even if you don't walk away with a dress.
Right. And that's good for all the women listening who might be in the fashion industry or creating a line or anything like that. This is an idea for whether, I'm sure you could do it with jewelry as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And what's really, really helpful for founders when you go to a trunk show is you get to then edit your samples. So we had a trunk show at my friend's law firm actually a few months ago where we had samples of our Marissa dress. And based on the feedback at that trunk show, we took all the samples back to the cutting and sewing person in the garment district and had her alter the dresses. So how else could you do that unless you have that intimate interaction with your potential customers at these shows? And so that's the other value to having the trunk shows is that in-person feedback on your product.
So they were giving you feedback on the cut or saying, oh, I wish it was like this.
On the hips, on the straps. And so we were able to edit the sizing, but we basically took all the samples back to the cutting and sewing and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to change them. And now they're all the more they're easier to sell because we had those tweaks made.
Right. Now, what would you say has, how would you say, I should say, that you're managing everything? I don't like to talk about balance because, right, it's never, I feel like everything's never all even. But how are you managing everything? You're a mom, you have this business, which sounds like it's pretty much full time, even though it's a side hustle. And then you have your full time career. What's the key to you for managing for those listening?
Right. So one thing that has been just indescribably helpful is that I no longer commute. I used to commute into the city from Hoboken, and that took up a lot of time. So I removed my commute from my life and was able to dedicate some of that time to the company. And then there's some technology that's helped us out a lot. There's a project management site called monday.com that's helped us a lot recently, because we get to have all of our to-do lists all in one platform, and everyone gets to see what everyone else is working on and what the deadlines are. And if someone completed something, you can see it right there. If something is still in the works, you can see that right there. We have to email a lot less once we started using that.
What's it called now? Monday.com?
Monday.com, yeah. Okay. And it's free for the basic setup, but I think there's another version that you pay for. So those are a few things that's helped me with management. But the main thing that's helped me is that I have a super supportive husband who helps me prioritize this time and has been super encouraging, so that at night when the kids are in bed and my regular work is done, I can dedicate a lot of my time to Pirouette and building it and connecting me with the right people, or even just sending invites to our trunk shows. There's so many ways to support our friends and our spouses, and he's been a major player. Also as a CFO, because whenever we have to do anything on Excel or with accounting, I just give it to him. And one less thing for me. Yeah, he's an MBA, so that's one less thing for me to worry about.
Right. Now talk about working with your business partner, Kate. How did you two come together, and how helpful has that been for you?
Right. That's been indescribably helpful, because I no longer have everything on my plate. It was really hard to do everything on my own, and I thought that was the only way to do it. And I thought if I shared this with anyone, then I start losing part of the vision. It wasn't even just losing the equity. It was really just losing the vision of what the aesthetic would be and what the messaging would be and what the branding would be. So after I had been doing this for a little over a year, but hadn't had any trunk shows or anything, had just started with what the template would be for the first dress, which is inspired by a button-down shirt. I had spoken to Kate about it quite a bit because we work together. We have been working together for several years. We're also close friends. She has always had that entrepreneurship bug that I didn't have. And so she wanted to do something outside of work that was creative and that was helping women. We help lawyers all day with the content we write, but she wanted to help women in our shoes. Busy moms, stay-at-home moms, women who are starting out in their career and want to look professional at work, but still want to look attractive after work without having to change outfits. And so she really fell in love with the idea and then asked if she could help out. And so then eventually she became a 50% partner. And so she takes on things I can't do and I take on things she can't do. And we just are constantly splitting tasks every day.
That's great. And the way you work together is through this project management tool, like you said.
Right. We just started working together on, before that, it was just texts and emails.
Right. Which can get to be overwhelming.
And then you have to, scroll up and try to remember which was the Instagram post you were going to do today. Right. Or who were we going to say we're going to invite? So that gets unwieldy.
And do you have other contractors, and people who work with you, or how are you still working on building out your team? Because you just started a year ago, right?
Right. We just launched a year and change ago. We actually have a production manager, Nadia Bradshaw Spencer, who's who worked at Gap and Suno and Eat It and Mara Hoffman. And so she has deep industry experience. She's the reason why we could get meetings with these Italian fabric houses and these Japanese fabric representatives in the city, and just an expert on everything from what type of hem to who's the right sewer to how can we get enough stretch in a certain fabric. And so she's been this invaluable piece to the production puzzle.
What advice would you say that you have for other women who are building major businesses as part of their, I feel like yours isn't really a side hustle. You're just doing both things.
Just doing two.
Yeah, you're doing two major things. But what would you say for other women who either have aspirations of doing that or who are already in that space? What's something that maybe you wish you knew before you started?
I wish I knew it was okay to talk about it to everyone. I wish I knew that I wasn't going to get weird looks or disencouragement from friends. Maybe from, people in your family who are older, they might question why you would even do anything in addition to your job. But I wish I had just known it was okay to talk about it. And the more you talk about it to people, the more you'll see opportunities and resources come your way. The only reason I met Nadia, the only reason Nadia entered our life was because I was at my law school reunion. I was speaking to my friend Lawanda, who's an attorney in Atlanta, and she mentioned, oh, you have to speak to my friend Nadia. And so unless you're putting it out there, you're not going to see that much come your way. And it's so hard to do it on your own, whether you're doing it on the side or doing it full time. Unless you're out there and talking about it, it's not going to go as quickly as it can go if you're at least planting those seeds, so that when people think about you, they think about, oh, she could use this recommendation, or she could use this introduction.
Thank you for sharing that. Of course, we're all about support around here. And sometimes people think, which I understand, sometimes you don't know exactly what you need or what you want to ask for. But to your point, just sharing what you're up to, what you hope, people can say, oh, you should talk to so-and-so, or you should do this. But you have to be willing, as you said, to share where I am. This is what I'm doing. This is what the dream is.
Right. And I think part of it might be connected to what you've recently spoken about, as being unapologetically ambitious. Because if you've already got your great job, and if you already have, so many parts of your life in place, and then you're saying, and then I'm adding on this other thing, you might think, oh, I sound crazy ambitious. I sound like it's not enough. I sound like I can't, just be happy with what I have. And it's not about that. It's not about being unsatisfied with what you have. It's that sometimes there's something else that you should be doing, but you can't just drop what you have to do that. So you're slowly building into it. So it's okay to talk to people about this other passion you have. It doesn't matter if it's scuba diving or a startup, right? The more you talk to people about what you're interested in, the more I think those opportunities are going to come your way and just fall in your lap as a blessing that you wouldn't have discovered unless you're out there with your idea.
That's right. What would you say entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
I've learned that I don't need as much sleep as I thought I needed.
Right. You can get by.
I really needed 7. Yeah, I thought I really needed 7 or 8 hours to function. But no, sometimes I'm just fine on 4 or 5. Not for too many days in a row, but sometimes I can manage. I think it's taught me that I'm not going to feel terrible when I ask for help. It was something that I used to not be comfortable doing. I just wanted to help people. I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to seem needy or weak. And it's taught me that it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to, let someone else pay for the wine or offer up their house, and it's not going to, ruin your friendship. So
support is sexy, Melissa.
Yeah. And I remember that great TED Talk by Amanda, I forget her last name, Preston or Parson, or she talks about the art of the ask. And
yes,
it's okay
she wrote a book about it, right?
And then she ended up writing a book about it. Yeah, and she has her punk band, and that stuck with me, how it's okay to ask. You have to be gracious, you have to be grateful, but it's okay to ask for help. And if someone turns you down, that's fine. They might actually turn you down, but then introduce you to someone who can help. So it's just taught me that it's okay to ask, and it's okay to ask to ask for help and to seem vulnerable. It's all right.
That's right. The Art of the Ask, Amanda Palmer.
There you go.
Yes.
That's an invaluable TED Talk, I think.
I'll make sure I link to that for everybody listening. What would you say is your vision for Pirouette NYC? If you look, maybe even, you never know where you're going to be 5 years from now, right? Who knows? Right. But if you had your vision or your way to script the story, what would it look like?
It would look like a brand that was built with a very focused purpose, so that we had our customer in mind the whole way through, and we ended up owning day to night. We ended up owning that space where women turn to when they need a piece that takes them from one part of their life to the next part of their life. So maybe that's from desk to date, maybe that's from beach to bar, but creating those multifunctional, multi-purpose pieces where it actually helps your wardrobe become smaller, more efficient, more effective, and you don't have that tyranny of choice every time you open your closet. You can pull out that one piece and you know that you can wear it for the next 14 hours and still rock your look and have something that lasts. Someone could take a picture of you in that dress And 3 years later, they can't date it because we have these classic designs, the lines that work for different shapes. And so having a brand that we built so that women can just have it as their first point of reference when they think about, oh, I have to pack for this trip and I need to just have a dress that works for different occasions and pieces that multitask as much as we do.
I love that's a great vision. You talk about needing someone to help you with your brand story or your story. That's excellent. That's honestly.
Thank you.
Yes, very clear. I say that because I can really see it clearly. You know, when people talk about their company, their brand, or their vision, you want to be able to see it. And I can see that. Now, where did the name Pirouette come from for you?
So that's funny. It goes back to my childhood. I was always in dance class. My mom always had us in ballet and jazz and modern and tap. And that was just a big part of growing up, going to dance class. And I always loved everything to do with dance and with ballet. And when you're in ballet, you learn a lot of these French terms for the different moves. And the word pirouette as a term always stuck in my mind because it's so graceful, but it's so powerful, right? To properly execute a pirouette, you have to be very strong. And as I became a mom and was commuting into the city and doing so much, you know, in an 18-hour day, I thought, we are doing these amazing things, but we also have to do them gracefully. It's not just about getting it done. It's about getting it done in a way that looks nice. I felt like there was this pressure to do that. And I thought, Pirouette describes this brand so perfectly because we're letting you go from one thing to the next stylishly and with grace, just like when you're doing a pirouette.
Excellent. So in closing, Melissa, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
That's the easiest question to answer. That's Rodolphe. Yep, that's Lorenzo-Herve, my husband. He has been everything from the catalyst to the motivation to the reason why this is even possible. It would not have been possible if I hadn't had his emotional support, financial support, every kind of help that someone would need, connecting me to the right people, figuring out who are some VCs and angel investors I should talk to, figuring out how to have a budget for everything we're doing. He has just been an amazing support. Just yesterday, I collapsed from exhaustion. And what did he do? He took the kids fishing so that I could rest in this house without any noise. So it's the little things and the big things. And he's just someone who I wish I could clone.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, you collapsed from exhaustion?
I did. I had been going a mile a minute the last week, planning for the trunk show we had Saturday in Morristown. I had a ton of work for my regular job. And then I had a ton of work for Pirouette. And then I had been interviewing publicists. And I thought, like you say, I got this. You know, we just convinced ourselves, no, I got this. It's okay that I haven't slept that much. And then I'm, you know, subsisting on Cliff Bars till 3 p.m. every day. And so I had this amazing trunk show in Morristown, met amazing women, got great feedback, had great sales, flew back the next day and came home and just went straight into mom mode and cleaning up and figuring out the schedule for the kids and the baseball and the play rehearsal. And then I thought, and now I'm going to go work out, but first let me do some laundry. And then I was in my room and I thought, oh, I'll just rest for a second. I'm just going to lie down and not move for a few minutes. And I did that. And I didn't wake up till hours later.
Your body needed that.
Yep. And my body just rejected doing anything at all except lying there and falling asleep. And it wasn't something that I wanted. It was just something that I physically needed. And I was so happy to wake up and see my kids telling me about all the fish they caught and going out on the pier. And I was like, that was great. No wonder I slept. There was no one in this house.
Right. Your husband probably saw you and said, let's go fishing. Let's leave mom alone.
Yeah. And even then I was so apologetic for having fallen asleep. And he was like, no, it was fine. We caught these mackerel and the mackerel even had their own fish in their mouths. And it was so much fun. And so it was so great.
Yeah, and I'm glad you took that moment. So thanks for sharing that moment, though, to lay down, even though you might not have wanted to, or sometimes we think it'll just be 5 minutes. But when your body needs it, you got to.
Right, exactly. We have to listen to our bodies because sometimes they know more than our minds convince us of.
That's right. So now tell us how we can support you. Tell everyone again, your website, social media, anything you want us to know.
Yeah, definitely follow us on Instagram at Pirouette_NYC. You can reach out to me with any questions about anything from ordering a dress to building a brand, to attending one of our trunk shows. My email is Melissa, so MELISSA at PIROUETTENYC.com. The website is PirouetteNYC.com. We're also on Facebook, and we'd love any feedback from anyone. We go from 0 to 16 in size, petite, and then 0 to 16 regular. Again, a direct response to requests for having an expanded size range. We hope to go to 20 soon. But it was important to have a petite line and a regular line for women who are above 5'4". So any feedback on the website or on anything that we're doing with the branding is always welcome.
Excellent. And I can list your email, right? Melissa at Pirouette NYC. Okay. I always like to check. Excellent. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm happy that we're connected. I know we're talking about so many things, but I was glad to have you on and just share your story because I know a lot of women are in that space.
Thank you, Elayne. It's been so great to share this time with you.
Of course. Now, before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything?
I would say don't give up on whatever your idea is. It might just be something at work. It might just be something in your personal life. I would say find out who can help you. Find a way to feel confident when you're in front of people so that they are responsive to your idea. I would say find that piece that makes you feel confident. For a lot of us, what we're wearing is our armor, similar to how men have power suits or women have power suits. We can all find that one piece that gives us that confidence. That's what we're trying to do with Pirouette. And really just focus on what makes you feel right so that you don't have to conform to what other people are telling you have to look like or sound like. I think once you've hit that right space in your life, you should go with it and go with your gut because there's a reason that you're feeling that intuition.
Excellent. Melissa, thank you so much. And I just want to thank you too publicly for listening to the podcast, being a great listener, giving me your feedback on the show. I really appreciate you.
No, thank you for this podcast and helping so many women through it.
Absolutely. All right. Hold on just a second.
Sure.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Melissa. Again, remember, you are not alone. A lot of us as women entrepreneurs, we're out here, we're doing it all different ways, but we're doing it together. You are not alone. And I am so happy that I get to talk to women like Melissa and women at all different stages of the journey in creating a business. That is really what I wanted the podcast to be all about. It was all about my intention. That's what I wanted it to be about, women sharing their stories at all parts of the journey of entrepreneurship, because I believe you need to hear all of it. One, to know you're not alone, so you can resonate with someone who's in the same space as you. You can think about the people who are just starting and remember when you were there, even offer advice. And then, of course, you can look at the people who are a little bit further ahead because they've been at it longer or they're doing things differently and be able to learn from them. So that is the intention. I hope you feel that every time you listen, whether this is your first time or your 400 and something time. Can you believe that? Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here either way. I appreciate you. It wouldn't be the same without you. And to find out more about Melissa, what she's up to find out about Pirouette, just go to supportissexypodcast.com, go to that search icon at the top and type in Melissa, MELISSA. Her show notes page will pop up with links and the resources we mentioned in this episode and the ways to get in touch with her. supportissexypodcast.com and just search Melissa. Now, until we chat again, I want you to remember you are not alone and you deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.